Managers of Reddit, what was the worst case of I demand to speak to the manager you've experienced? I'm a manager at a McDonald's. I worked at a store right off an exit to the highway. Woman bought a burger, let it sit and wanted a refund because it was cold. She had bought the burger in another state. Demanded money from the cashier. Demanded to see me. Demanded corporate number. Sorry mom, violating thermodynamics costs extra. At Red Lobster someone grabbed the manager and told him his shrimp was cold, wanted a free beer, and he could get better fish by fishing. This manager was my dad, and was meeting us after work, and apparently looked like an authority figure since he had a tie on. My dad replied, "That's cocktail shrimp, you moron." I think this is my favorite one yet. This bacon is so raw, I can still hear it mooing. 1. It was pre-cooked bacon. 2. I know dang well that bacon never mooed. I feel a Gordon Ramsay coming on. I worked at an independent chocolate shop that sold various flavors of truffles, brownies and drinks. We had non-dairy options, vegan options and nut-free options. A woman demanded to speak to the manager because we did not have a dairy-free, nut-free, sugar-free, vegan option. Luckily the owner literally just laughed and said, "We do have one, it's called water." I have never seen such entitled rage. If said shop happened to be in a weird yuppie footy type of area, I bet they could make carob goods for nut jobs like this woman. Fake chocolate with fake sugar and charge considerably more than normal for it because it's specialty. Even if they tasted freaking horrible, fad dieters would buy them up in a heartbeat. I had a super old guy come in to buy shoes and wouldn't let my employee help him because she was a female. She has tattoos and piercings and stuff, so I thought she was over exaggerating and maybe he was just offended by her appearance. He asked to speak to the manager and then I came out to talk to him. I'm also a female. Needless to say, he didn't buy any shoes. I worked the customer service desk at a grocery store. One afternoon a guy came storming over after getting checked out and threw a package of beef in front of me. He starts going off, yelling and cussing at me because he was supposed to get a $3.54 discount, but the register only took off $3.53. He was screaming at me that he wanted his penny back, and that it wasn't even about the penny, but it was the principle of the thing. By the time he was through, he had yelled at me, my customer service manager, and our store manager on duty. As soon as I gave him that penny though, he shut right up and left. Principle of the thing, I guess. I would have told him I don't help people who scream at me like that. It's not even about the screaming, it's the principle of the thing. I was a shift lead at a GameStop and was the manager on duty with one other associate in the store. We were pretty busy. Both the other employee and I were on registers ringing through our own respective lines. Poor guy I work with gets this soccer mom haircut that I knew was gonna be trouble, and she is trying to return a new game that had the seal broken on it. Against return policy, can't help you. So lady then gets really upset and demands to cancel all of her son's pre-orders. My guy obliges and is preparing to give her refund in store credit because her son had only paid for the pre-orders with trades. You can't mix match tenders, so my guy informed her so. That was just it. She was instantly screaming and calling my associate a liar. He literally turns the computer screen towards her and shows her the entry is in trade credit, but she isn't having it. Let me speak to your manager. Dude points to me. I wrap up with my customer and we trade registers so he can keep helping out. I ask her how I can help, to which she screams her experience at me. I reiterate what my buddy informed her and that there isn't any way we can get her cash back. She claims, well, I'm gonna call your corporate office and tell them that your policy doesn't apply to me and I've never been treated like this before. To which I happily offer her the corporate number and advise her that telling a corporate customer service line that they believe they are exempt from policy is probably not the best strategy. Woman gets red in the face and starts looking around the store, and God forbid the poor man. The old manager walks in. He does not work there anymore, but the woman recognizes him from his time at the store. She begins accusing me of lying to her because she knows that he is the real manager and that he can help her. Nope, dude, just trying to shop. She ended up just leaving in a huff. When will dumpters learn you get farther with being nice and understand than you do being an ass? Worked front desk of a hotel. Had a woman throw a goddamn tantrum because the state we were in charged a 6% room tax. She demanded that I remove the tax. I told her that we had no control over taxes. She still wouldn't accept the reality of taxes, so I printed off contact information for her state representative and told her to direct her complaints to them. She did not like that at all. She started screaming, so I got my manager. My manager said basically what I said, that we cannot legally remove a tax. So the woman grabbed the bowl of mints on the counter and threw it at my head and stormed out. We had her credit card on file and charged her for the full amount. 7% room tax on top of a 9.5% sales tax here. I had so many people get upset over this. No one ever got violent though. Was a waiter at a small restaurant for a number of years. Worst incident involved a group of guys, 6'8", all in their late teens early 20s. They went all out, expensive drinks, cocktails, and everyone ordered a steak. The one that stuck out to me, and the one that eventually demanded to see the manager, ordered his medium well, with every sauce available, being garlic, mushroom and peppercorn. They stayed for over 2 hours, racking up the bar tab after they'd cleaned their plates, some of them even literally licking their plates. Well, they eventually call for the bill. I dutifully bring it over and the guy who ordered the steak with every sauce pulls me aside and says he's not paying for his steak. Why, may you ask? Apparently the garlic butter was frozen, therefore rendering the steak that he wolfed down completely inedible. I look him dead in the eye and say, dude, the garlic butter doesn't even stay in the freezer. There's no way it could have been frozen. Customer takes offense to this and demands to see the manager. I go to the back office and explain the situation, and as we're going through the kitchen, he stops me and asks if their plates are still in the unwashed stack. They were, and every plate was empty. Manager and myself walk out to the table. He asks what the problem is and 3-sauce guy points at me saying I have a terrible attitude and demands that his inedible steak be taken off the bill. Guy then explains that he goes to the best steak houses in city and knows a crap steak when he sees one. Manager looks at customer, looks at me, turns back to customer and plainly tells him, what kind of freaking moron orders all 3 sauces on a steak? Screaming match ensues. Entire table telling manager he's a freaking idiot and wouldn't know a good steak if someone slapped him with it. The manager screams at them to get the frick out of his restaurant, and their connoisseurial tastes can suck a fat one. At the end of the night, the manager says that incidents like this happen every 2-3 years. Usually a group of young guys and they're just looking to start a fight to skip out on the bill. Apparently he just absorbs a cost like this to avoid unnecessary drama. Man, I would have quietly called the police about them not paying if the bill was particularly high. I've had unhappy customers call and ask for the owner of the company by name because they googled it. I explained that that person is technically an owner, but has nothing to do with the business, and doesn't even live in the same state. Then I go on and solve their problem with what authority I have. Meanwhile, I'm that owner of the company. Never show all your cards when negotiating. I'm picturing someone walking into a Walmart in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and demanding to see Doug McMillan. I had a woman call to tell me that she spent too little on an ice cream cone. We had a special that was like 2 scoops in a waffle cone for $5, and for some reason she only got 1 scoop and said she didn't know about the special, despite there being signs all over the shop about it. She claimed that my worker didn't offer it to her. I didn't focus on upselling at our store, so this wasn't a big deal to me. I apologized to her, but I was also like, what exactly do you want me to do about it? This happened yesterday. I'm assuming you ate the ice cream so you can't return it. She wanted a refund anyway for the inconvenience. I asked if she had a receipt. She said she didn't. I said no go without a receipt. She said she didn't get one at checkout. I explained to her that in my state we're not required by law to give a receipt for cash purchased food service items. So if she didn't ask for one, tough luck. She kept pressing, saying she demanded to speak to the manager. I explained that I was the manager. She then asked if there was another manager she could speak to. I told her no, I was end of the line, top of the heap. No one else was going to tell her anything different. She huffed and told me she would be by to discuss it in person. She never came in. I always wonder why people waste so much of their time for $5. When I worked in a gas station, a dude that I knew was 18 came in and wanted some cigs. This guy was a dong. I knew he had his license revoked, so I asked for some id. He whipped out a fishing license written in pencil, so I refused to sell him cigs. and he was fairly upset. He yelled for a manager, and my manager came around the corner and told him that I was right. This was an unacceptable id. The kid told my manager I had sold cigs to him before, which was true. My manager just said that sucks. Now leave. After he left, my manager said that she had sold to him before too, but he was a dong, so who gives a crap? Then the kid called my store, asked for my manager, and told the same manager that 2 employees were disrespecting him. If someone calls again, just play along like whoever is on the phone is firing those people. Like do all the yelling "you're fired." It'll be funny when he comes in the next day and you're still there. Obligatory, not a manager, but maybe not the worst, but this was definitely the dumbest I ever saw. A sign was accidentally left up from earlier in the week advertising men's Levi's as buy one, get one half off, so for 2 pairs, it would be roughly $90. The current sale was to get 2 pairs for $70. Had a lady pitch an absolute fit that they weren't ringing up buy one, get one half off, she was being ripped off, etc. Tried to explain to her that we had accidentally missed a sign but that she was actually getting a better deal at the current price. She wouldn't have any of it and demanded to speak to the manager. Store leader comes out and tells her the exact same thing, but the lady will not listen and is adamant about getting them at the price on the sign. Store leader finally gives up and tells me to just go ahead and do a price override and charge her the extra money. Lady leaves smugly, like she thinks she's just worked us over big time, and makes some kind of comment about how I need to learn to listen to customers on the way out. Had this happened before when I worked at Michael's. I don't think I fought them very hard on it, though, because I was like, if you want to be in butthole, go ahead and pay extra money. I was busy at Christmas at an old job sorting out wrapping paper, etc. The queue got large, so I jumped on the till. A customer approached and complained about having to pay 5p for a plastic bag. The charge just started. She said she wasn't going to pay, so I charged her and asked for the next customer. She moaned that she wouldn't be able to carry everything. I asked for 5p. She asked to speak to my supervisor. I said I'll go get him. I left the tills, turned a corner, waited a few seconds, and reappeared, informing her I was in charge. The amount of people who were kicking up a fuss about 5 bloody pence though, you'd think the government had started charging them for air. I used to work at the concession stand cafe at the Tennessee Performing Arts Center. We had snacks like potato chips and candy, as well as pre-made sandwiches from a local sandwich shop. We only got a certain number of sandwiches for each day, so when we ran out, that was it. This one lady who was in a wheelchair came through my line, telling me how she was diabetic and needed to eat a meal. I showed her that we had trail mix, candy, and chips, but she absolutely could not eat any of that because she was diabetic. It had to be a sandwich and nothing else. I told her we literally didn't have any sandwiches left, but she just kept repeating about how she was diabetic and she was told there would be sandwiches. But she was being incredibly rude to me, making a scene, and said I was told there would be sandwiches probably about 10 times. By this point there was a long line forming behind her while she was making a scene. She asked for the manager, so I told her she could step out of line and wait for the manager, but she wouldn't budge. The manager came over and told her the exact same thing that I had. She eventually calmed down, moved out of the line, and agreed to have chips and candy for free. I don't know who the frick told her about the sandwiches, but I want to slap them. One of the heads of a radiology department was infuriated when there was a network outage in his area. Stormed up into our support area screaming for a manager. Me. Listened to him rant and rave and finally decided to take a walk down there to see what I could do. Start looking around and I find a bunch of $10 network hubs splitting one PC connection to 8 PCs. I started laughing and asked who put these hubs in. He said I did. What's so funny? Explained that he was the source of his own problem. Started disconnecting the hubs and guess what? The network came back up. I confiscated about 7 hubs and told him if he needs more connections he has to contact engineering and have them run more lines. He flipped out and I just walked down the hall to his VP's office and explained what happened. When I was leaving the office the VP called him. He no longer works here. Artalis from tech support. This happened before I started working in the store, but a trailer park-esque mother was stupid enough to steal from us, and then tried to purchase a sale item to make it look less suspicious. When the cashier, who was aware of the situation, was acting strangely, she took offense and demanded a manager be brought over. Our lovely and heavily pregnant manager calmly informed her that she was aware there were stolen goods in her bag, and this woman punched her in the face. I was the VP of sales for a F500 here in the States. At about 6:30 PM my office phone rang and it was a person from HR asking if I could take a call in which the client was irate and threatening legal action. I get on the phone and I quickly realize there is zero chance of making this man happy, and ironically, I'm a big fan of firing crappy clients. The things he was demanding were simply ridiculous and I politely refused. I also stated that I would personally allow his company from its contract with no fees or costs. Of course, still not good enough, and I eventually hung up due to the screaming and foul language. Long story short, I found out the next day that he was arrested for trespassing that evening while trying to enter our corporate suburban office with 2 guns. But the joke was on him, BC. I worked in our corporate downtown office. Dodge a bullet there. I was running a coffee shop by myself when this dude came in, asked for an egg sandwich. No big deal. I start making his. Then the next customer asks for a BLT. I start warming the bacon on the skillet next to first customer's egg, and this guy waits until I hand him the already made sandwich to freak out. He needed his food to be halal, but our coffee shop was very much not halal. After demanding free food, refund, etc., he starts getting heated and loud. He tries to pull the whole "let me see your manager" thing. Unfortunately for him, it's me. He literally had been yelling at me for 15 minutes when I said, "You know what? Let's call my friend, the owner of this establishment, and see what they have to say about it." I dial her up, explain what's going on. He grabs my phone from me, tells her he's going to call the police and file a lawsuit for discrimination, throws my phone on the ground, then storms out. This isn't the owner, this is a cell phone. You've been visited by a dog. It's a regular dog, but he's a good boy. If you comment pet pet pet, he'll let you pet him. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.